Hi everybody, it's Honest John again. Now, we do know that Vladimir Putin and the Kremlin wanted Donald Trump to win our last presidential election. We know, for example, that the Russians hacked the emails of the RNC, but not one of those emails found its way to WikiLeaks or any other organization that would have released them. And believe me, they would have been just as embarrassing as anything that was found at the DNC. Now, the fact is that the Russians could not have hacked the actual voting machines because they were not connected to the internet. So any assertion that that happened is just highly unlikely. They would have had to get people inside the polling places to open up the machines and hack them that way. A very unlikely idea. But just as unlikely, and in fact ridiculous, is the assertion by Donald Trump that millions of people voted illegally. A conspiracy involving just 5 or 6 people is hard enough to keep a secret. One involving millions of people? Well, that's just impossible. And then they would have had to all show up in the weeks prior to the election with nobody noticing anything going on. Now, one of the things Trump cites is that there are 2.75 million people who are registered to vote in more than one state. Matter of fact, some of the people who are registered in more than one state include Donald Trump's inner circle. People like his daughter, Tiffany, his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, Trump's pick for Treasury Secretary, Steve Mnuchin, Steve Bannon, his senior advisor, Sean Spicer, his press secretary, all registered to vote in more than one state. So maybe we should just invalidate the election, since there were so many people in Trump's inner circle who were in a position to commit voter fraud. Matter of fact, Donald Trump has residencies in at least 2 states, and you know that if he could have voted for himself twice, he would have. So let's hold the election again and see how he does. But seriously, according to the Census Division, about 35 million people move every year. Of course, many of them are children, so that doesn't affect the voter rolls, but their parents do. So if any of you have moved since you became a voter, when you moved, did you ask the state that you moved out of to remove you from the voter rolls? No, people don't do that. I didn't when I moved from Rhode Island to California in 1977. But somehow it just never occurred to me to fly back to Rhode Island so I could vote twice. And then, of course, there are lots of college students who are registered in the state where their parents live, and in the state where they go to college. So there is nothing nefarious about being registered to vote in 2 states as long as you don't vote in both of them. But there will be another investigation of voter fraud that will arrive at the same conclusions that all of the other investigations have arrived at, and that is that it just doesn't happen. In fact, the only election fraud that's happening in the United States is the Republicans' voter suppression operations. Thanks for listening.